Majo's on Madden in my camper van in Veracruz, Mexico, by the ocean. And the rhythm of the ocean has a lot to do with what I want to talk about right now, which is Kundalini. Now, Kundalini is an Eastern term that confuses people sometimes. It's often associated with the word Tantra, and people think of it as referring to sexual practices for spiritual progress, which is true on one level. Tantric yoga, tantric sex has to do with harnessing the force of the Kundalini energy, which is really just another term for life energy. Life, the flow of life, the rhythm of the spheres, the rhythm of life, can be harnessed behind sexuality. The two great powers available to the human species that we have struggled against probably for the whole duration of the human species are sex and aggression. Each of them has tremendous power to unleash life, the power of life, and each can be used for ill, but don't have to be. When you struggle against life as it manifests in sex and aggression, you block the flow of life energy, or Kundalini, or Chi, or Ki, the life force. Spiritual progress has to do with tapping the power of Kundalini, aligning yourself with the flow of life energy. Surrender to life energy. The great dialectic of doing and being, active and passive, yin and yang. It's a dialectic. Rules don't serve human life. Anytime you say never, don't, it's wrong, you're blocking the flow of life. The Ten Commandments are a great example of immature spirituality, where you say never do this, never do that. When you impose a never, a solid no, not in dialectic with yes, you're lost. You're lost. You've missed the mark. It's not a sin. It's like an arrow that misses the mark, a mistake. In my experience, one of the forces that releases Kundalini the strongest is dance, because you're surrendering to the flow of the music, the beat of life. So people who say they don't like to dance really are saying, well, I'm kind of into resisting life in that area. People who say they don't like sex, don't like touch, it's another way of saying, well, I'm kind of wanting to stay separate and not move fluidly, not join with other members of the human species. I want to do my own thing. And there's a time and a place for doing your own thing, and a time and a place for joining. For everything there is a purpose, a season, a time for every purpose under heaven. I recently spent 3 months in Xalapa, which is a lot about doing, a lot about yang energy. It's prosperous. It's a lot of government work. People who move fast hard charging, making progress, taking care of business. But it's hard to flow up there because it's cold and rainy, not much sun, and I needed a week ago to get back to the beach, to get back to the sound of the surf. So for a week now, 2 days I slept around the corner there where you didn't get the sound of the waves. And it's broken up a lot by all the harbor structures out there which break the waves. But over here, there's more. There's not the full power of the surf, but there's more of it. So for 5 days I've been sleeping right next to the surf, and all night long the rhythm of life is working on me whether I'm asleep or awake. And it's a real sign that I'm moving back towards the rhythm of life after being intoxicated by all the wonderfulness of Xalapa. But I needed to get back to the water, back to the rhythm. And it's showing because when I was down in El Diamante next to the coast, I was juggling a lot. But my whole 3 months up in Xalapa, that went away. I wasn't juggling at all. And now here I've been juggling like a nut. Limes, tennis balls. On the seawall here, limes are more functional than tennis balls because they're less likely to roll into the water. And at this point I've lost all of them. 4 tennis balls and 2 or 3 limes. So when I'm out there using the music from my big speaker, which I sometimes put up on top of the roof of my car, it's been dizzying. I'm taking juggling to a whole new level. And I used to be a heady intellectual, not in my body. But when life started taking over my rhythms 4 years ago in a big spiritual experience, and then even more so when I went to the country and got to the mountains, I've inhabited my body in a whole different way. And one of the ways it showed up was after about a year in the country, I said, why is it, I'm a smoker, why is it guys like to play catch? Guys more than women, there's some women who are great at it, great baseball players. But guys like to toss things and catch them. And I said, why is it that you are able to throw a cigarette lighter way up in the air and catch it so effortlessly when you can't even see it? Well, I was getting more in the rhythm of my body and the rhythm of life. So I took that and said, well, what about juggling? You used to have the book Juggling for the Complete Klutz because you really thought, you knew intuitively that it was a way to get out of your head. But you never used it, you never did it. But I started it in Los Fresnos back in Texas about a year ago now. I got some tennis balls and started juggling them and was amazed, like, well, how is it that I know how to do this? I've never done it before. And I'm not a pro. Up in Xalapa, there are amazing jugglers busking for change at the street corners. And they're juggling 3 balls, 4 balls at a time, burning torches, stuff like that. Well, I'm not at that level, but I'm pretty good. And it shocks me, like, how can you do that? And over the course of this week, I've been getting wilder in my dancing and juggling. Latino music really, really works for me. Latino music hits the rhythms. Cumbia music is a form of Latino dance music that I got exposed to, and I'm aware of how I'm rocking as I'm doing this. Yeah. Back in El Diamante, I got close with a family, close enough that they invited me to come to a quinceañera party, a girl's 15th birthday coming of age party. And Miguel was telling me about the party. It was going to be 200 people family members coming in from all over the region. And he said, it's going to start at 5 o'clock. And I said, well, how late will it go? And he said, about 7. I said, that's not much of a party. And he says, 7 a.m. And the cumbia, the live cumbia band, would do a song that would run 10 minutes. And they played not all night, but they played for a long time. And I surrendered to that rhythm, which is not my traditional rock and roll, or R&B, which is even more flowing and rhythmic than a lot of rock and roll. Cumbia is even more, I think, on the pulse of life. And yesterday I danced a lot right there in the restaurant of the hotel. A young woman named Michelle, who does cumbia and American rock and roll and Mexican standards. And she was an amazing performer, mesmerizing. And for me, her dance steps were a little bouncy, whereas mine were more grounded and more slinky. More, well, in my experience, I've been a dancer my whole life, and I like to say that early rock and roll, black infused R&B music, early rock and roll, saved my life, because my puritanical Irish Catholic working class Chicago culture was kind of sterile, non-touch. The women of my mom's generation were non-touch. I wasn't touched as a kid. So dancing alone in my room as a 7th grader, you know, like 12 years old or something, got me through and opened up a door that just continued and continued and continued. In Asheville, North Carolina, where I was for 16 years, big dance hub, whole lot of dancing in that town, including ecstatic dancing. The group was called the Asheville Movement Collective, and it was free-form improvisational dancing as opposed to following steps, which tends to be more structured and more rigid, although swing dancing can get really hot. And there would be a big conference every year in Nashville, people coming in from all over the East to do swing dancing. And most forms of dance, I used to like to say, oh, I don't do steps, no clogging, and the mountains there was so big. Contra dancing is form of square dancing, but it's more rhythmic and more beautiful. But I said, no, repeating steps, I don't like that. And the guy said to me, if you watch the cloggers, if you watch the contra dancers, the really good ones, they've got the form down, and it allows them to improvise, and they're doing all kinds of improvisation in there. So wonderful and spectacular as Michelle was over here, for me, I could pretty easily fall in rhythm with the little dance steps she was doing, but it didn't set me free. I wasn't able to fly, so I had to pull away from following her and follow my own inner flow. And then I really got down and pretty much stunned her and another guy in there who said, whoa, you dance like James Brown or something. And it's because I have surrendered to being influenced by black people in the U.S. and Latinos in the U.S. and now 9 months in Mexico. Mexicans touch lots more, laugh lots more, tend to dance lots more, stand closer to each other. They don't need the amount of distance, the amount of personal space that Americans are used to. I still get shocked by how close they'll walk to you, how close they stand to you. There's an old American part of me that goes, hey, that's my space, Jack. And then I go, but isn't it kind of nice after the COVID, which just interrupted the Kundalini flow of the human species? They're coming back to the rhythm of Kundalini faster in Mexico. So much touch in Mexico. Extended families and children are brought up with so much touch. And children in Mexico never got that big Kundalini interrupter of stranger danger. Never got taught, don't look at a stranger. No, stay separate. It's real similar, equivalent to the vets who say to keep your puppy separate from other dogs for some number of weeks. How that ruptures their development. Well, Mexican parents don't say to their kids, don't interact with people who aren't from the family. No, they don't do that. So kids will give you shocking eye contact, Latino kids. Up in Texas, I was on a trail and a Latino family came through on the trail, and I got up to say hi to them, greet them, and I knew enough Spanish to do that. And the 5-year-old came up and rubbed my belly, which, American parents would just flip. And no, you're touching a stranger? And I looked at the parents and I said, he's amazing. He's so easy with people. And they were really proud of him because he knew how to interact with people. Yeah. So, birds flying overhead. For a week I've been exposed to people who mostly are on vacation, mostly happy, mostly extra relaxed, extra fun, extra laughing, and all week long on the pathway here, which wraps around there and gets lots of walking. Hardly anybody is walking separate. Almost everybody is arm in arm with a mother or a grandmother or a brother or a lover. A lot of lovers in Mexico. Oh my God, it's not a stereotype to say it's a romantic country, because the music is super romantic, the music is super flowing, people stand closer, touch more, laugh more, they are more in the flow of life. And this old gringo has been piggybacking on that and learning, practicar, educar. I'm never gonna be a great Mexican because I don't like tortillas, but I like my food hotter now, 9 months in. Yeah. Shut up, John. You're done. Thanks.